Hey, today we're talking about what to do when you have to have a break from your business and how to restart without it taking you off course. So, hello, I am Julie from Do Business Like a Woman. And if you're new, welcome. Today's topic is a juicy one. We are talking about what happens when you need to take a break from your business, because I have seen that this is one of the biggest threats to the success of your business as an online coach or service provider when you end up stopping and starting. It's one of the hardest things to do, right? That stopping and starting energy. It can feel like you are starting over from scratch every single time. And we don't want to do that because that's hard work. The truth is, you are going to need to take breaks in your business, both planned and unplanned. The truth is, life gets in the way. It is going to throw curveballs. Stuff is going to come up that we didn't plan for, health stuff, family stuff, money stuff, crises that were not part of the plan. We all know that. That is life. So, how do we actually navigate this as business owners and continue to grow successful businesses even despite these curveballs? And that is what we're going to talk about today. So I'm really excited for this topic, and I'm going to share some personal stories of when I've taken breaks, both planned and unplanned. But I will share with you the reason I wanted to cover this is because over the last 11 years of doing this, coaching coaches to have success in their business, to get clients and put the processes in place to have consistent sales, I have noticed what makes people successful in the long term and create a sustainable business or not. And as you can imagine, I've coached many clients over that time period. So I've had the privilege of seeing the ones that build sustainable businesses for the long term, not just a flash in the pan, or the ones that kind of fizzle out. And sometimes people will have a lot of success, but then they hit a difficult patch or they have a break, life throws them a curveball, and they never quite get going again. And they kind of fizzle out in their business, or they just keep going along, but not really creating the results they want, not getting the level of clients or growth or money that they want. So what is this all about? How do we overcome this? Because honestly, I think this is one of the biggest threats to your success, if not the biggest. We can say, oh, I need the right strategy, or I just need to know where to find people, or I need more leads. The truth is, this comes before all of that, right? This is where it's at. You have heard, and you've probably even said, I need to be consistent, right? We've heard the importance of consistency in our businesses, but what does that actually mean in practice? Because life does not lend itself to you being like a business robot, right? And so you may have a beautiful plan of what you're going to do that week, all mapped out, and then there's a family emergency and you get thrown off course and your beautiful plan goes out the window. Now, depending how we respond to that is the difference between whether we create that successful business or whether we kind of get stuck and go along with very minimal success. And so that's why I really want to help you overcome this today and speak to this today. And I'll share very transparently that this has been a real challenge for me too, and continues to be in some ways. This has been a learning curve for me. Consistency over the years has been one of my biggest challenges building my own coaching business. And, just to share a little bit of my own personal experience with this, there's a couple of things. First of all, Oh, it says I've got low battery. Let me just plug this in. Oh, annoying. That was my boyfriend unplugging my charger and putting his phone charger in instead. Naughty. Okay, so couple of things. I created a really successful coaching business. I've been doing this a while. In around 2020, I had my best year, 2020, 2021, rocking and rolling for a few years after that. And it was great, right? And I've been self-employed as a coach and an online business consultant for many, many years as my full-time thing. So I've been doing this about 11 years now, and I've probably been full-time in that way, self-employed for about 7 of those, right? So that's just giving you a bit of context. And in that time, I've experienced ups and downs. I have learned the muscle of consistency. I have been teaching for ages about client creation activities, timeless strategies that help you get clients no matter what the market is doing. But I will share this with you. It's not always been easy for me. I did take a big break from my business for the last sort of 1.5 years, and I'll talk about that. I didn't leave my business completely, I just took a detour. But I've been back again for the last 3 months and rebuilding the coaching arm of my business. So that's one story I'm going to share with you. Because then you know that I am actually living this. I'm right there with you. I'm overcoming. I'm in it too. I'm in the trenches with you. Second one is I have a chronic ongoing health condition, and I don't talk about it a lot. My clients know, but I don't talk about it a lot publicly. But I have endometriosis, and if you don't know what that is, it causes very, very painful, very challenging periods, right? And it causes me to be in bed for at least 3 days a month. And really, it almost wipes out almost like a week in a month, maybe 5 days, where I'm just not 100%. I do what I can, but I'm feeling really unwell. I'm sick, I'm nauseous. I've got a couple of those days, terrible period cramps. And everyone wants to try and fix this for me. And I love that you guys want to help me with this, but I'm not asking for that, okay? Because over the years, people have given me so many suggestions. I've been on a journey with this. It's not a quick fix, but it is something that I've worked on with lifestyle and different things. I've had an operation. So I'm not asking for advice here, just to be clear. And it's been an ongoing challenge when it comes to building my business. And I cannot tell you how it can feel sometimes when I look at women who don't have this particular challenge, and I just think, wow, it's so easy for them. This is how it feels. And I know it's not easy for anyone, because we all have our own individual challenges. But when I'm not well, every month for those days when I'm unwell, and I used to beat myself up so badly, and I used to just look at women who can have their time of the month and not go through that and just function normally and be able to work, and just feel at such a disadvantage. Now, yours may not be a health condition, or maybe it is, and if it is, I'm sorry, it's really, really difficult. I see you. But maybe yours is, you have little kids, and maybe you're a single mum, or, maybe yours is you have a really demanding full-time job that you're working while you're building this coaching business, or you have aging parents, or a parent with dementia that keeps having emergencies that you have to go and deal with, right? I don't know what your particular situation is, but I do know that everyone has stuff, life stuff, that will feel like a huge disadvantage. And if you feel like that sometimes, just put yes in the comments, put me too, right? Me too. Because I want to honor you, and I want to say that I see you, and I'm not making light of this, right? I'm not going to be the person that says, oh, just get over it, just work harder. Now, that said, what I do want to do today is really unpack this and come up with some workable strategies. So we're not just painting over the top of it, because I cannot tell you how frustrated I used to get when people who don't experience my particular health condition would just say, oh, well, look, just take some painkillers and carry on. Or, oh, just at that time of the month, read personal development books. That's what a mindset coach once said to me. And I felt like absolutely shaking her, because I was like, if you knew the level of pain that I'm in, I cannot concentrate on anything during those few days each month. I cannot. So reading a personal development book, as much as it's one of my favorite activities normally, that's out the window. It's not going to happen. The best I can do during those times is perhaps listen to a story on Audible, right? Or maybe watch Love Island, have it on in the background, just something that doesn't take concentration, because I am not well during that time, right? So, and again, I'm not sharing this for sympathy or whatever. I'm just sharing this because I want you to know that whatever it is you are dealing with, I see you, I hear you, I know how that can feel. And what I want to come to is, how do we build successful, sustainable businesses anyway, despite the challenges, despite the demands on our time, despite the disadvantages? And again, like, I look at women who just can be the same throughout the month, and I just think, wow, I so wish I could be like that, but that's not my reality, right? So we work with what we've got. And part of my journey, part of the reason that my business is called Do Business Like a Woman, is because I needed and wanted to learn, how do I work around my cycle, and how can I actually make this maybe not a strength, because I'm not sure that I will ever quite view it that way. Maybe I will, but how can I really work with this and do my best to have it as part, it has to be part of my routine, my monthly cycle. And then how can I work with my energy levels, with the things that I have in my life, and just do the absolute best and thrive in my business with my success, be consistent in my way that I can. And particularly today's topic, how to get back on track after you've had that break, whether it is a longer break for whatever reason, or whether it's something like your period, or, and you've just had to have some days off. Because here's what I've seen. How we respond to this is everything. So it's not whether you have to take some time off. We're all going to take time off, and we should. We shouldn't be working 24 hours a day in our businesses. That's a recipe for burnout. That's not what we're about here. But we do want to be productive, right? So the difference I have seen between the ones who create successful businesses, and I've seen this in myself too over the years, and the ones that don't, is what they do after a break, right? So whether it's like an emergency and they've been pulled away and they've had to go and do something, or it's something like a reoccurring health condition, how you respond. So for me, with my health condition, like the last few days, I've just come out of having a period, and I've been getting back into the swing of my business. And I'll tell you, and you tell me if you can relate to this, it can feel really overwhelming, and it can feel almost like starting from scratch. Like, what am I supposed to do again? And look, I teach this stuff, right? I teach client creation activities. So I can share what works for me. But the first thing is not to beat ourselves up, because I will tell you, when we tell a negative story about our experience, we will spiral. We'll go into a negative spiral. So for me, I could be like, oh my God, that's another 5 days wasted. Or it's not quite 5 days, but that's another week gone that I was not as productive as I wanted. And the story I could tell, I must not be cut out for this. I can't do this. There's too much of a disadvantage. She can do it because she doesn't have this issue, but not me. I can't do it, right? I must be a failure. Why can I not get it together? What's wrong with me? Do you relate to any of this? Do you have any of this going on, right? I'm being really, really open and honest here about sort of the internal thoughts that can take us down, right? Because those thoughts are painful, aren't they? And they're not going to lead us anywhere good. Because when we think those things and we believe the story, that is not setting you up to take action, to get back on with it, to move into a more productive space. In fact, that is setting you up for a downward spiral. It's setting you up for stress, feeling overwhelmed, and ultimately procrastination, stopping and starting, not moving forward, always starting from scratch. That is what those thoughts in that moment will do. So we don't want to do that. And I speak from experience. I've done that, right? I've done that. So what do we do instead? Well, first thing is we need to catch that and we need to say, no, thank you very much. Okay, I feel overwhelmed. It's just a thought pattern. Let me take a breath. Now, what do I choose to focus on? And I'm going to give you some really concrete, practical things in just a minute towards the end of this training. So stick with me, stay with me to the end. So I'm going to give you a step-by-step plan for this, right? And maybe your break is you've just been on holiday, right? And you want to get back into the swing of things. So just put something in the comments if you've experienced this ever. You know, what has been your experience? Maybe you did go on holiday. Maybe you have a health condition. Like, let me know a little bit what you're resonating with. If you're getting this, if you experience it too, I'd love to know. And remember, this is safe space. So, but I do share this video as well. But inside of this group, your comments are just inside of this group. It's a private group in the Facebook group if you're in there. Okay. So the other time, I'll just share this story and then I'm going to give you the plan how to deal with this, right? So the other time that I took a break, and this was a bit of a longer one. So bearing in mind, as I said, I've been doing this 11 years, been my full-time thing for like, 8 years or something. And before that, it was my part-time thing, right? So I've been doing it a while. Well, after I had several years of success, kind of from around like 2019, 2020, 2021, 22, in sort of late 2022, I had some personal circumstances and into 2023. At the same time, and I didn't know this at the time, but the marketplace was changing. You may have noticed this. I've talked about it a lot in some of our other trainings, but we're in 2025 right now. And it's a very different marketplace for online coaches selling your services. What you will notice is that high ticket is not selling as easily or as quickly. We're in a trust recession. We all have been talking about that. People are taking longer to make buying decisions. The way people are buying is changing. But there is a huge opportunity here. The membership and subscription marketplace is taking off. People are still buying high ticket, but we have to build the trust. We have to build relationships. And there's a very different way of doing that that works in 2025, which is different from a few years ago. And I actually talk about that in my own trust building offer, Turn Browsers into Buyers. If you haven't heard about me speak about that yet, it's a 60-day sprint. It's where I link arms with you. I take you through the process of actually turning your browsers in your world into buyers in 2025 and beyond, right? So client creation activities for today, what's actually working, how to build that trust quickly, how to get clients. And this is bang up to date. This is what we're doing. This is what works. And that 60-day sprint is just £97 at the moment. By the time you're watching this, the price may have gone up depending when you're watching it. But you definitely want to get into that early, right? And get going with that, because the women in there are getting amazing results already. We've got women starting their communities. We've got women booking sales calls. We've had a couple of ladies who've launched their own trust building offer. One made 14 sales, another one made 22 sales in a couple of weeks. So we are rocking and rolling inside of that 60-day sprint, Turn Browsers into Buyers from hello to sold in 60 days. This is for coaches who want to know how to create clients and get over the trust recession right now. So if that sounds good to you, just drop a comment below and put buyers, right? Buyers, and then I'll know to DM you and give you the details of that. So with that said, this is everything that I'm covering inside of that sprint, right? How to do this, how to navigate this. But back to the story, the marketplace was changing. And so what was happening is my launches were slowing down. Whereas I used to be able to go out and sell my high ticket group coaching program and fill it from one launch, and it would be, I wouldn't say easy, but it would be fairly straightforward, fairly simple. I noticed that I was having to work a lot harder just to bring people in. My group, high ticket group program wasn't selling as well. People who'd been with me for a couple of years were sort of tailing off and going elsewhere. And so it was all becoming harder. And I did that thing that I've just told you not to do, of telling a negative story. And I thought it was me. I was like, this must mean that I don't know what I'm doing, because if I can't even do this and I teach this stuff, what the hell does that mean? I shouldn't be coaching. And at the same time, I had some personal circumstances here. This is where life throws you a curveball. So I had a breakup of a relationship. It was a narcissistic relationship, and that really threw me for a loop. So perfect combination. Now, I didn't exactly stop in my business, but what I did was I took a detour and I went and did consulting, and I worked behind the scenes in some much more established coaching businesses, multiple six-figure coaching businesses. I was doing high ticket sales, some consulting and online business manager work behind the scenes. And I did that for the last year and a half, but I missed supporting clients, supporting the smaller business owner, how to get clients and get going and launch their business, right? Missed it. And so here I am again, rebuilding this side of my business, but I was able to rebuild very, very quickly because I just picked up where I'd left off, right? And this was great advice from my mentor, Megan. She said, amateurs stop and start. Professionals pick up where they left off. She said, Julie, it doesn't matter if you've been out of the loop and you haven't really done anything with your Facebook group for a year and a half. Go in there, full confidence, pick back up and just start teaching again, start giving value, start connecting with people. I did. And guess what? The group's still here. The group was still here. The relationships from before were still here. My expertise was still here, right? And so that's what I mean about, and I'm not suggesting you go and have a year and a half break. Don't do that. But, we can just pick up and we can get going again. So that's actually a big tip. Hear me on that, right? Amateurs stop and start. Professionals pick up where they left off and get going again. We can all do that, right? We don't have to explain to anyone. We just get right on. And so that was an example of a time when I had a much longer break. And I can tell you, until my mentor gave me that advice, I had a lot of mental chatter around, oh my God, what do I tell people? People are going to judge me. I have to explain where I've been, blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. No, you don't. And people are so busy, they're not even paying that much attention, right? So look, maybe a few of my clients from before, some of whom are working with me again, wondered what I was up to. And so when I came back, when I reconnected with them, I just filled them in, shared the story just like I have with you. But you don't have to explain to anyone. So if you've had any kind of break, that's a big tip for you. Just pick up, get going again, right? Now, I want to talk about how it can sometimes feel when we have had a break, whether it's planned or unplanned. It can really feel like failure. It can feel like, why am I not able to be as consistent as her? And we look at someone and don't some people just look like robots on how are they everywhere? How are they omnipresent? And that's a conversation for another day, but that's to do with scaling, that's to do with having a bank of content and things like that. But it can look like that. And sometimes we compare where we are with people who are much, much, much further along in the journey, and we expect ourselves to show up like them. Well, that's crazy, because they didn't even show up like them in the beginning, right? They're like several years ahead. They've put systems in place. They've been through their journey. So let's not do that to ourselves, right? But it can feel like, it feels like failing, doesn't it? It can feel like, oh my God, I'm failing, right? We all feel like this sometimes. And that's the danger. That's the biggest threat to your business, because that can send you into that negative thought loop, those stories, those negative stories, which can take you down. Let's not do that, ladies. Let's just not. Let's hold ourselves accountable. Let's remember this, all right? But it's horrible. It feels like comparing. It can feel like shame, quite honestly. Like there is something wrong with us. We are not good enough. We put so much pressure on ourselves. You know, I had a coach once who used to talk about holding a gun to your own head, right? And that's what it's like. That's what we do to ourselves. It's not nice. You wouldn't do it to a friend who'd been through something. So let's not do it to ourselves. So with that said, here's the plan. Here's how to deal. And you're going to want to write this down. So the first thing, and I've said this already, but I'll repeat it. We are not going to shame ourselves. We are not going to like believe any negative thoughts that come up. We're going to be really gentle but firm with ourselves, like you would a toddler, right? Or a small child that was going through something, or a best friend. You'd be supportive, but you'd be like, right, come on, let's get up. We're not going to sit in the house and mope all day. We're going to get on with what needs doing. And you'd be very loving. First step is to do that for yourself, right? So pinky swear with me. That's what we're going to do when we're coming back from any kind of break. Loving with ourselves, but firm. We're not going to buy into any of those negative stories or those thoughts that are not supportive, because they will sap your energy. That's the danger. You know, I'm not saying never have a break. That's ridiculous. We need to plan breaks, but the danger is those negative thoughts. So we're going to bypass that. We're going to say thank you. We're going to feel them, but we're going to get back on track, okay? Step 2, you want to have a really clear, idiot-proof process that a 5-year-old could do for how to run your business and how to get back on in your business. The way I teach this, I used to teach it calling it client creation activities. We now call it Power Hour and relationship building. And I have a system, I call it the Rickler system. I teach it in all of my programs. But there are some core activities, just 5. It's incredibly simple and idiot proof. And I have it written down. You get all of that inside of the Term Browsers into Buyers 60-day sprint. I have it written in a Google Doc. There are 5 activities. You literally sit down for your power hour and you work your way through those activities. That is so powerful because it gets you focused, you stop spinning in your head, and you get the hell on with it, right? You get on with it. So this is how we move through any procrastination. We cut through, we get into action. It is an idiot-proof, simple, easy to follow process. You're going to work your power hour. You're going to work your activities. A 5-year-old could do this, right? Or maybe a 7-year-old. But that's what you want. So I've got that for you inside of Term Browsers into Buyers. If you could go create your own, absolutely. In my experience, that slows everything down. There's a lot of trial and error. What I have is proven to work in my own business and the business of my clients. So absolutely come get that. Join us in the 60-day sprint if you'd like to, right? The next one, number 3, is know that you will stop. There will be times where you take breaks, whether it's planned for a weekend, right? You have Saturday and Sunday off, or you've gone on holiday for a week and you've switched off, which I highly recommend. You're not like trying to work at the same time, or it is something unplanned and you've been pulled away, and now you want to get back going again in your business. So know that it will happen. You will stop. You will. It's life. Something that I used to teach and I still encourage is have a bare bones system of kind of what needs to happen just to keep your business ticking over. And it doesn't have to be you, right? Eventually, what we want to do is get to a place where you can take time off and your business will just keep running because you've got systems in place. Maybe you have a small team, maybe it's just one VA, or maybe literally you've just built in the processes that will support you, that will allow you to have time off, okay, and that your business won't crumble. So that's where we're headed. But you want to sort of plan that out and have your bare bones structure in place, and also really be intentional. So at this stage, I'm intentional about working with my cycle, knowing that when it's period time, I have days where I'm not working, I'm not making promises on, like I'm not doing coaching sessions, I'm not trying to go live or fulfill anything. And I'm not creating those commitments for myself. So really being intentional about, you know, how your business looks, and planning as much as we can, but knowing that it will happen, and that when it does, we're going to go straight to this protocol. No shame, you know, supporting yourself, loving yourself, but being firm, straight back to the idiot proof system, straight back on with your power hour. And that's how we get back into it. There is one other thing I teach inside of Turn Browsers into Buyers, and that is how to make all of this a habit. Because when something is a habit, you're going to keep doing it. And if you stop for any amount of time because of life throwing you a curveball, you're going to get right back to it because it's a habit, right? You know, if you have any habits, good or bad, let's pick a good habit. Maybe you're a water drinker like me. That's one really good habit I have. I drink a lot of water. I have some now, actually. Yeah, so where are my fellow water drinkers? But give me a comment, say water in the chat if that's one of your good habits. But like if you have a good habit and then for some reason you get knocked off that habit for a period of time, it will feel so weird and uncomfortable that you'll get back to it. Another example, I have a yoga habit. I love to do 10 minutes in the morning. I do a yoga workout and then I do something like 20 ab curls, right? Just to finish it off. And I know that if I go stay with my parents and it's difficult to do my yoga, I could still do it, but it's difficult. And I don't do it for a few days because it is a habit. As soon as I get home again, I'm right back into it because it's a habit. And that's how habits work. So we're going to do the same with your business. This is a game changer. It makes everything so much easier for you. Talk about getting back on the horse, getting back on quickly. And this, ladies, is how you build a sustainable coaching business every time. It's not about being perfect. It's not about being a robot. We get to be human. We get to be less than perfect, but we get to develop these strong habits, these following this system, and get right back on and build that business. So let's do it. I invite you to come join us in the 60-day sprint, Turn Browsers into Buyers. Put buyers in the chat if you'd like the details of that, or you can send me a DM. And I really want to support you with this because I want as many of us as possible to do this, to feel good about our progress. And that's what's happening with the ladies inside of the sprint. You know, they're having their wins, they're showing up, they've started their communities, they're doing their lives, they're getting clients, right? So you can do this, you really can. If I can do it with all of my issues and my, you know, we all human, we've all been through it, all of the mindset stuff. You know, I've made all the mistakes in the book. I've been really transparent about that today. If I can do it, you absolutely can too. So here to support you, sending you so much love. That is how you get going again after a break, in my humble opinion. I don't have it perfect. If you have anything to share on this, please do. I'd love to know your tips, what works for you, your experience with this. Lots of love. Give the video a heart or a like, please. Drop me a comment. If you're on YouTube, you can subscribe. And I hope you've got so much out of today. Lots of love. Bye for now. See you next time. We're back to Thursday next week, 11 a.m. UK, right here in the group for our next free training.